Star Wars, the Complete Collection. I have now done all the major content in this game. We have played through all of the episodes, seen all of the Star Wars movies translated to Lego, and I will quickly read this crawl mission 1. Qui-Gon the vile gangster chip with hot plans to kidnap her leading figures across the galaxy, threatening to hand them over to Imperial forces unless a ransom is paid. A band of vicious bounty hunters has come together to execute Jabba's scheme. Their first target, the Jedi Qui-Gon Jinn. Alright, I didn't read fast enough for the title crawl, my bad. But anyway, we have gone through all of the episodes, and we have done the bonus room where we played some old versions of missions and some bonus missions. And I thought before we put the complete collection away for good, or at least for now, who knows what the future holds, maybe we will revisit it sometime in the future. But I thought we should truly finish off the game by doing the bounty hunter missions. The bounty hunter missions unlock once you have purchased all of the bounty hunter characters. This includes IG-88, Greedo, Dengar, Bosk, Forlom, and of course Boba Fett. The bounty hunter missions are basically hide and seek, where you are playing the Seeker. There is a specific character hidden somewhere on a map, and you have to find them before time runs out. So, it's, not the most revelatory gameplay in the world, but it's a fun little addition. I particularly like how, you have your whole band of bounty hunters with you for every mission. This little gang. But this will be just probably a shorter video, just a chill little farewell to the complete collection, which I have been playing a lot of the last few months. Maybe we can come back someday to, I don't know, do some 100% or something. But probably not for a very long time, if that ever happens. There's Jar Jar. So, yeah, I think our, reflecting on our time in Lego Star Wars Saga game. I've talked, I think probably enough about what I like in these games that I don't have to, go through that whole spiel again today, but I'll just say a couple things like, one thing that I've talked about before, but the unique combat animations that so many characters have. I'm playing as IG-88 right now, for instance, and IG-88 has a very fun, unique attack cycle where eventually he pulls off his own head and uses it as a bludgeon. So the passion, the fun that the developers were having while making this game just kind of stands out to me. Oh, this was a quick one. Kid Fisto is just off here to the left. A very fast bounty hunter mission there. This is also a nice way to make some money. You can farm money a lot faster once you unlock, the score multipliers in other parts of the game, but if you're not just farming, just working your way through these bounty hunter missions, it gives you a nice little chunk of change. Here we are in the arena, the Geonosis arena. We have found Master Luminara. So, how are you all doing? How are you enjoying the holiday season? If it is indeed a holiday season for you, if you celebrate. I am spending time with my family, which is always very nice to get together. I'm pretty close with my family, so I do look forward to the times of year when I'm able to see them. But I hope that you're doing well, that maybe you're having a little break from the stresses of life. And if you're not, I know that sometimes this season can be very difficult for people. I just want you to know that I wish the best for you, and I hope that you can find some peace. So we have these thermal detonators here. We need to blow up that object with the thermal detonator so we can continue on our way. I'm playing as Greedo right now. I probably talked about this before, but in the Star Wars Battlefront from 2015, Greedo was one of the villains you could play as, and I enjoyed his toolset. He had a grenade that would upgrade the more kills that you got, and would eventually become a also had an ability that was basically like McCree's ultimate from Overwatch, where everybody on your screen gets targeted at once after a short delay, and you shoot all of them. So I enjoyed playing as Greedo. Actually, now that I think about it, you've got quite a crossover of those villains here, because the villains in Star Wars Battlefront, they wanted to restrict that game to the original trilogy era. And so if you're thinking about, iconic villains from the original trilogy that are combatants and that work with the Empire specifically, you are kind of limited. So they had the original three were Darth Vader, Darth Sidious, and Boba Fett. And then they just started adding in the bounty hunters. So, they got, actually Greedo he didn't even really work with the Empire in A New Hope, now that I think about it, which is kind of funny. He just got thrown on the list. They could have done IG-88 or somebody instead. That would have been a little more appropriate. But, yeah, so the crossover here, you have Greedo, you have Boba Fett, and you have Dengar. And then for the last DLC, they added Director Krennic, which was a little silly because he's obviously not really a combatant in a typical sense. He's just he's an Imperial officer. But he had a pretty cool tool set in that game. I enjoyed it. He could load his gun with this one powerful shot, and it would pretty much insta-kill people. And he also had a little droid that would deploy a bubble shield, and so you could kind of camp in the bubble shield. And then the only drawback to this weapon ability was that, the reload took a long time. But you could just camp in the bubble shield and then pop out, fire it off, and then go back into the bubble shield to safely reload. The other drawback, of course, was that if there were a lot of enemies, you weren't good at crowd control. You could pick people off one by one pretty effectively. Oh yeah, and now that I am seeing Bosk, of course he was one of the villains in that game as well. So that's another crossover here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 villains here that are crossovers with the Star Wars Battlefront. And sadly, neither of the droids here were playable in that game. Disrespect for our droids. Also, it's a pretty windy day out there, so I chilly and windy, but not so cold that, it's like miserable to be outside. As long as you kind of bundle up a little bit, it's very nice to be out there. Yeah, so these little bounty hunter missions are, as I said before, they're not anything crazy, but they're a fun little additional thing to do when you beat the game, or, specifically when you acquire all of the bounty hunter characters, which I think is just a nice touch from the developers. Not everything included in a game has to be amazing, but something small like this, it goes a long way, I think. It gives you something to work towards, and it's fun when you unlock it for the first time, and you can knock it out in 45 minutes, but yeah, it's just a fun little addition to the game. You get to see Jabba the Hutt, big old Jabba. Of course, the droids here, which is kind of fun, they count as both protocol droids and astromech droids for the purposes of control panels. So they're pretty powerful characters from an ability perspective. I mean, not powerfully, not powerful in the sense of, this new meta breaks Star Wars the Complete Collection. The developers need to patch this broken new character. But if you're playing, free play or whatever, it's pretty convenient to run around as, IG-88 because he has a blaster, he can fight, he's fast, but he can also interact with many control panels because he can do the droid panels and the bounty hunter panels. IG-88 fans stay winning. IG-88 all day, every day. So, next up we are searching for Chewbacca. Right, I've watched anime Baka, that's like dummy, right? I've seen anime. I know Japanese culture. Actually though, I have watched anime, but not too many. Let's see, I've watched Death Note, and I'm not sure if I've talked about this before, but I've watched Death Note, I've watched that show Food Wars, which is a pretty funny one. I watched a few seasons of that, and then there was this really big event in it, and then after that I just lost interest. It felt like it was kind of the conclusion of the show, and then the show kept going, and they introduced this new character. There was this weird love triangle thing, and I said, you know what, I think I've had enough. and I'll stay spoiler free, but they introduced some aspects that I just found really strange, which is fine. It's not like a bad thing, but yeah, there was just an element that like kind of took me out of the seriousness of the story, and I was watching it with my brother at the time, and I was like, if they, because I started to get suspicious about something, and I was like, if they do this thing, I am not watching this show anymore. And then they did the thing, and I was like, okay. I actually wouldn't mind going back to finish it. It's not that I came to hate the show or anything, and I would certainly be curious to see where it ended up. But, yeah, it just, some of the choices that they made were kind of silly enough. To me, they came across as a bit silly to me, and it just broke my desire to continue watching in a sort of a practical sense. You know how you can be like, you know, there's a lot of things in life where you're like, oh yeah, sure, I'd like to read that book, I'd like to watch that movie, oh yeah, I would like to do this thing. But there's a difference between sort of in your mind saying, oh yeah, sure, I'd be happy to do something, and then actually being motivated enough to do that thing. And it's not like watching a show is, you know, a difficult thing to do, but you do need motivation of some kind. It takes a lot of time. So, Attack on Titan never got to the point where I was like, I am not going to watch this trash anymore. But it did get to the point where I just lost the practical motivation to do it, if that makes sense. But I did enjoy Attack on Titan. I'm trying to think if there's other animes that I've watched. I watched Seven Deadly Sins. I saw a few seasons of that. I thought that one was kind of entertaining. That might be all the anime I've watched. Yeah, it was never a genre that I really got into super heavily. But occasionally, for whatever reason, if there was, you know, some circumstance where a show came into my mind. Also, I just realized that when you shoot that box, you actually move it with the force of your blaster bolts, which is kind of cool. But yeah, every once in a while, for whatever reason, I would just get the urge to watch some anime. Usually because, you know, it came so highly recommended. Which was the case with something like Death Note, for instance, where, you know, people that just talked, I'd heard for years about how good Death Note was. So eventually I was like, okay, well, let's check this out. Oh, you know what? I also watched some of those. Yeah, anime overall, like, I mean, they're all so different, you can't really, but certainly there's a certain kind of anime, that, like, fan service, kind of pervy stuff, kind of puts me off. I don't consider myself a prude with, like, sexual content in art. Maybe I would come off as a bit prudish, I guess, but I don't conceive of it that way. My only thing with sexual content in, films and TV and stuff is that I sometimes, or I often find that it's not really contributing to the story. And so if, a sex scene is doing something to motivate the story, or, it's teaching us more about the characters or the relationships, then I think it's great. I have zero problem with it. But I do often find that it feels like they're more there for just titillation. And, I mean, I don't have a problem with that either. I don't care about, the existence of pornography or anything. But, I don't really want it in my art if it's just there for the sake of being titillating. And I guess as an example of what I mean when I say that, sex scenes should, like, develop the story or the characters. Oh, and by the way, I mean, this is just the rule that I have for, like, anything in art. Every scene and interaction should serve the story in some way. It should serve to progress the story, develop the characters. And if it's not serving a function like that, then it could probably just be cut. But anyway, an example in my mind of what makes a good sex scene would be, also, sorry, I don't know why we got on this topic, it's kind of random. We're playing Lego Star Wars, for God's sake. But anyway, The Shape of Water, the Guillermo del Toro movie, who's just a phenomenal director. There's two sex scenes in that movie, and they serve as, so the point of the movie is, like, this woman falls in love with spoilers for Shape of Water. This woman falls in love with a fish man, and that relationship is, not societally acceptable because she's a woman and he's a fish man. But the point of the movie is, like, just because their love is different doesn't mean it's, bad. And so there's one scene in the movie where this guy who has a wife, they're a husband and wife, but he's the villain. They have sex, and I won't go into the gruesome details, but it's, like, disgusting. Some really nasty stuff happens. And, what that scene does is it makes the intimate relationships of a societally acceptable couple, namely, a married man and woman, this, like, heterosexual human couple. It makes that relationship feel disgusting. But then you have a sex scene with the fish man and the woman later on, and it's like, yeah, they are societally unacceptable. But the film portrays it as, very beautiful. so what you end up with is this contrast, right? And it just serves to make the film's point, which is just because things are unusual or different doesn't mean that they're bad. And it does that by showing that, you know, this physical relationship that's seen as normal is actually gross. And this physical relationship that is seen as abnormal is actually beautiful. So, that's an example of what I mean when I say that, you know, scenes like that can serve the story and serve character development and such. But I don't even remember how we got on that topic. This is has been a very, very rambly video. Oh yeah, because I was talking about anime, which is also not very related to what we are doing here in LEGO Star Wars. They did do that Star Wars Visions show, which I think is ongoing. I think there's a new season announced, or maybe it already came out. I didn't follow it, but it's Star Wars from a variety of different animation studios, and I think most of the studios are anime studios. Pretty sure I only watched the first season. I might have watched the second one as well. It was kind of cool. There were some, in my opinion, some really horrible episodes. But that's, you know, maybe just my personal taste. But yeah, and some, I don't know, yeah, some of the stories in that didn't work for me, but some of them were really cool. But yeah, I think I think I watched the second season. I think that came out around the time that I was sort of falling off the Star Wars show. Our last mission here, Mission 20, Han Solo. Naturally, the evil hunt intends to take the ransom money, trade the prisoners to the Empire, regardless, and pocket a double bounty. Their final target, Han Solo, a former smuggler turned Alliance hero, stationed on the rebel base of Hoth. Trying to remember some of the Visions episodes that I enjoyed. There was one, I think like a girl was gonna get married to a gang, so like a bandit or something, to protect her village. I don't remember the details of that one, but I do remember liking that one quite a bit. I think there was also one about like a girl and her pet or something in a big imperial city. I think I liked that one as well. But yeah, we're kind of off the Star Wars bandwagon over here. I have not been keeping up with the new shows. Not since Andor Season 2, which was kind of my farewell to Star Wars. And I've talked about all that a lot in this complete collection series. Maybe I should do like a more organized video. Han is up there, where I put my thoughts together in a video that is specifically about, you know, the topic of Star Wars and my thoughts on Star Wars. But this series has kind of ended up being like a dumping ground for all of my Star Wars opinions. I know I've talked at this point at length about, you know, the prequels and the sequels and the shows and the Disney era and the culture around Star Wars and, you know, Dave Filoni and all these things, yada yada yada. But there we go. That is our final bounty hunter mission. So with that, we have completed all of the, you know, major content in the Complete Collection. Lego Star Wars, the Complete Collection. So perhaps one day we will return for some 100% stuff. But until then, which, you know, I wouldn't expect to happen anytime soon. Until that day, I will say thank you for joining me. Thank you for accompanying me on this long journey through Lego Star Wars The Complete Collection, a game which has a lot of meaning to me from my childhood. It has been wonderful to revisit it, and I hope that you enjoyed. Until next time, my friends, please take care of yourselves, and I will do the same. And you know what? Given the circumstances of having just played through this whole game, maybe I should also say, may the Force be with you.